first full week of preseason fall camp is officially in the books for Iowa football. What we've learned so far, some rumblings, some inside information from the Iowa football facility there in Iowa City. Of course, we'll get Kids Day, the open practice Saturday. We also get media availability at the annual Iowa Football Media Day tomorrow, Friday, August 8th. So we'll talk about week one of fall camp and what we've learned so far. But first, a big thank you to our sponsor. We want to shout out Maya the Malamute, this awesome dog that's currently visiting patients at the Stead Family Children's Hospital in Iowa City. And if you read this book, you'll learn about this awesome, courageous dog who herself fought through two different life-threatening issues, one being she was the runt of the litter. You'll learn all about it, and believe me, if you have a young one, you will inspire that young one to keep fighting through whatever adversity he or she may face in the future. Maya the Malamute, A Spark of Courage. Check out the story, buy your copy, and support the cause of Maya visiting those young kids in the Children's Hospital. It's just an unbelievable effort from this foundation, and you can read more about the foundation as well, mayathemalamute.com. So we're here to talk about week one of fall camp. They started, Wednesday last week officially, I believe it was, and now we're midweek the following week. So a full week of fall camp is officially in the books. And again, as I mentioned at the outset, we'll get Kids Day, the open practice, as well as media availability. But I haven't really had a chance to talk about some of the rumblings out of week one of fall camp yet. So let's start at the top. This is a guy who I've alluded to several times in recent videos, but have not talked about extensively. And I've not seen him on the field much working on offense, but this guy is KJ Parker. And this fall camp was not the first time that he's flashed. I know he was impressing a lot of people during the team's skills and drills, practice periods during summer. And what I continue to hear is his level of quickness off the line. And I had one source tell me that there was a period during the summer where it felt like he was basically unguardable. That's a quote, basically unguardable toward the tail end of summer. And so he's a guy to watch. I mean, I talked about how Mark brought him down to Texas. A small group of receivers went with Mark Gronowski. Maybe Addison Estringa was in that group as well. They went down to Texas to train once Gronowski got healthy. And of course, Gronowski spent some time in Iowa City during the summer. But my point is, I think that was significant. That might have been an indication right there that Gronowski and maybe even the staff foresees KJ Parker being one of the top three receivers. That would be really an amazing leap, an amazing ascension, because there are plenty of guys in front of him who have experience. There's another guy to keep your eye on, and this shouldn't really surprise anybody, but it's a name we haven't seen work a lot as a receiver at Iowa yet, and that's Caden Weegan. Of course, he's been a stellar return guy on special teams, but from what I've been told, early indications from fall camp are that he may end up being a guy who gets significant snaps at receiver. That should not surprise you given what he can do after the catch. But again, lots of guys, Seth Anderson, Reese Vanderzee. We talked about KJ Parker, Jacob Gill, Sam Phillips, plenty of guys out there, not to mention Jarrett Bowie, who has not yet been seen on Iowa's social media accounts. So I don't know if he's out with an injury. We'll probably find that out here this week. But just a couple of notes there, receiver. Weegan, watch out for him to get some snaps at receiver this year. And again, with his quickness and his ability after the catch, you hope that he could catch up with route running in his hands. Sounds like maybe he's closed that gap a little bit to be more in the conversation as a wideout and in KJ Parker. As it relates to the other side of the ball, keep hearing really good things about Xavier Nwankpa this fall camp. It sounds like his position switch to the other safety spot has really helped him. Cohen Entringer at times has looked like the best DB on the field. So that's positive. I know people were like, wow, he's going to Big Ten Media Days to represent the defense this past July, and he's never really been a solidified starter. Well, I think it was pretty clear. The team really respects him. The coaching staff thinks highly of him, and it sounds like that light bulb has turned on. Also sounds like Cade Pieper is in line to be a starter this year. Now, things can change, but he's been the most consistent guy away from the top three that we keep talking about in Dunker, Logan Jones, Bo Stevens. I've not heard much about Stevens. I don't believe I've seen him on social media yet either. So he's a guy I'll be anxious to ask Kirk Ferentz or the staff about on Friday in Iowa City. But it sounds like Pieper has been working a lot with that top unit. I would expect him to be a starter somewhere. I would guess it's going to be at one of the guard spots. I would not think he'd be a natural fit at left tackle. So watch out for Cade Pieper. Shouldn't be a surprise there either. Although I'm kind of rooting for Michael Myslinski to break through. The guy's been through so much as it relates to health since he got to Iowa, and he's finally healthy. Cornerback has been a different story. Talked about safety and how strong it's looked so far during fall camp. I think corner, reading between the lines of some of the things I've been told, and of course we've seen a little bit, like little tidbits on social media. I mean, Iowa posted some highlight reel of Reese Vanderzee like torching Deshaun Lee a couple of times earlier this week, and they quickly followed up today with a video of Deshaun Lee stepping up in run containment. But in general, I think corner is the spot people are most concerned about. I'm not to that level of concern yet because, hey, this is fall camp. It's when you work through these things, and you got a guy named Phil Parker coaching that unit up. Sounds like TJ Hall's really taken a step forward. Who will take the other spot? Heard good things about Jalen Watson and Shaheed Barros. Barros is the transfer from South Dakota. Would not be shocked. I was given indication this early in that first week. Would not be shocked if Shaheed Barros ends up being that second corner. We keep seeing little flashes of Deshaun Lee in these clips, but I've not heard anything that would give me indication that he's been really good. And I've heard some really good things about the younger guy, Jalen Watson, and the older vet, Shaheed Barros, who's transferring in from South Dakota. Also have heard good things on Jackson Rexroth and Landon Van Kekerix. Those two guys have worked in at cash and weak side linebacker. So that will be an interesting battle to follow. Of course, Zach Lutmer expected to be the starting cash guy, but when they're in a 4-3, we'll see what Iowa deploys there because they've been pretty experienced at both cash and weak side linebacker for some time. I mean, think about how long Kyler Fisher was at Iowa. They just had so many good results at safety, from Sebastian Castro to Dane Belton to Geno Stone. So we'll just wait and see on that one. Taking a look at the defensive line, one team source telling me that this may be the best D-line in at least the last 4 years. In fact, this source told me they believe this is the best D-line, at least in the last 4 years, maybe beyond that. Linebackers have looked really, really good. And as I mentioned, Nwankpa has looked more comfortable. One guy that we've talked about, Coach Patterson and I talked about him, and we published a segment from our show with Coach Patterson. We published that, I believe it was yesterday. Yosei Epinesa, people wonder about him. Will he play year one? He did not enroll early, so I kind of questioned it will be behind. It sounds like, at least early on here in the first week, he's looked a little lost at times. And what I was told is he does not look ready. And there's enough guys in front of him that I really think it will take a pretty strong leap. And it may be something where he plays a little bit as the season progresses. And as I mentioned during my show with Coach Patterson, maybe it'll be one of those situations where Iowa can deploy him in a few games, limit him to 3 or 4 games played, and hold on to that redshirt year. But I would not expect to see Yosei Epinesa taking extensive snaps as an edge rusher in 2025. Now, here's one that I know fans, I've already heard some things on social media, so I'm not the only one that has reported this, I'm sure. But at quarterback, Jeremy Hecklinski has turned some heads since he got to Iowa City. Remember, he was not with Iowa during spring, but Iowa brought in Warren Ruggiero, the former OC at Wake Forest, and then Jeremy Hecklinski entered the transfer portal, committed to Iowa. So he's in a battle for QB2, along with Hank Brown, Jimmy Sullivan, and Jackson Stratton. Now, I'm not going to jump to the conclusion that he will be QB2 because it sounds like he's still pretty raw, does not know the playbook and the plays just in general, the system, like Hank Brown does, like Jackson Stratton does. So I think it's likely he will not be the backup in 2025, but I know he's really got some people optimistic within the program about the future after Gronowski. Maybe he's the guy. He's a really good athlete. I was told he was the best athlete. He's been the best athlete at quarterback. And that includes in the conversation with Mark Gronowski. I was told he's probably a better athlete than Gronowski. Now, Gronowski has 30 or 40 pounds on Jeremy Hecklinski, but the future looks bright if they can hold on to that young man. The one unit we really haven't talked about yet, special teams. It's been very up and down based on what I've been told. Kicking, punting has been very up and down. There have been some days where the kicking unit has been really bad. And that's not all on 1 or 2 guys, right? It's an entire unit that has to execute. What I can tell you is here of late, they've been better. Last few days, they've been better. And it sounds like Holder has been a challenge to figure out who's the best guy where. And I've talked about this. Remember, they brought in the young man from Boston College, Bryant Worrell, who's coming over as a graduate to be a long snapper because Ike Speltz has been up and down since they lost Luke Elkin last winter. So we assumed Bryant Worrell would probably be the starter, but it sounds like perhaps Ike Speltz is still a better snapper on punts. And it sounds like Worrell might have the edge with the field goal unit. So that would be interesting. I don't know the last time we've seen Iowa kind of alternate long snappers, but that's what it sounds like so far. And it sounds like Ty Nissen is projected to be the holder, a much better holder based on what I've been told, much better holder than Reese Dakin. So I think we covered basically every position group on the football field. I mean, we went from offense, defense, special teams. I've heard nothing but good things about Mark Gronowski, too. That's probably the number one question, right? Nothing but good things so far, but we'll get a better look at him on Saturday. So I know that's kind of jumping all over the place, folks, but I know people like to hear this type of information and just the scuttlebutt, the rumblings, the inside information, if you will. But again, we will get much more inside information tomorrow. Media Day. Keep it locked right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. We'll post interviews and also some notes on Twitter. You can follow me at From the Hawkeye on Twitter, on X now as it's called. And of course, we'll talk to you on Saturday from the annual Kids Day open practice inside Kinnick Stadium. Hit that like button, folks, and we will talk to you soon.